course.
I am very excited about this video today because we will be talking about one of my favorite animated characters of all time. The one with bluish gray skin, spikes on his shoulders, time to shine today. Panthro from ThunderCats has always been the cool one, whether in 1985 or 2011 or in the current times. The muscle, the mechanic, the guy who quietly built the ThunderTank and drove it into the battlefield, while everyone else was still trying to figure out what was happening. But beneath that stoic warrior exterior of his lies a very genuine character, with many layers to it. He is a man broken and built on betrayal, being underestimated and not recognized for his potential. So when the strongest Thundercat quite literally was passed over for leadership, banished by a false king, sold out by his best friend, and is forced to fight to survive every day, what makes him keep coming back? It is definitely something to think about.
Thundercat Prey, the deadly Panthro.
Who is Panthro at his core? Panthro isn't just a code name or nickname. It was a very intentional move by the creator Tobin Wolfe. He kept it simple and self-explanatory when we look at it. Panther from his species base, a humanoid panther, and anthro, hinting at anthropomorphic animal characters. When put together, his name makes a lot of sense. Looking at his background, Panthro is a Thunderian noble, one of the aristocratic warrior class of the planet Thundera. Chronologically speaking, he is the second oldest of the surviving Thundercats, coming right behind Jaga. This means he is the senior most and is the most experienced in his core team. To highlight, he is always a military man first, a trained soldier, a veteran of some real harsh battles, and a general of the Thunderian army in the 2011 reboot of the series. Which means he did not start out as a mechanic. He became one in the need of the hour. He supported the team in dire times by being the engineering genius behind plans. His mental abilities are as formidable as his physical prowess, and that makes him an indispensable component of the team. Coming to the powers he holds, it is again on the next level. Whether we talk about his sharply honed techniques or even simply his raw strength, it is hard to find him a match of his level. He is seen wielding a pair of nunchucks, ones that are customized with secret chemical spray compounds, as well as other hidden weapons inside. And beyond just his weapons, he is also a master in martial arts, which becomes the best display of his well-practiced techniques. Bring all of these together, the raw strength and a good hand with various techniques, tie it all up with his engineering genius mind, and we have a character who designs, builds, and maintains all of ThunderCat's vehicles. The ThunderTank, Feliner, Thunderclaw, Thunderstrike, and the Hovercat. And let me tell you this one thing. If you did not know, ThunderTank is not just one of Panthro's vehicles. It is an embodiment and expression of Panthro himself. It is heavily armored, built for complete functionality only, no aesthetics nonsense, and intimidating on sight, all of which describes our character the best. It doesn't waste time looking impressive, it is impressive. It is the object form of Panthro. But everyone fears something or the other, and our Panthro here also does. But things like bats and spiders, they are very valid fear, and him having such fears is the franchise's way of reminding the audience that at the end of the day, Panthro is a complete person, someone who is capable of having fears just like anybody else. And this phobia of bats and dislike towards spiders has been consistent across all versions of his character, including the original and the reboot. Another iconic thing about Panthro's character is his voice actor. After being created by Tobin Wolfe in 1985, he was voiced by Earl Hyman, an African-American stage actor, best known for his role as Russell Huxtable on The Cosby Show. His voice became inseparable from his character for years to come, and everyone who grew up with this character knew him by Hyman's voice. This made Panthro one of the earliest and most prominent African-American voice characterizations in mainstream 1980s animation. Having an African-American actor voice a character in the 1980s was a huge deal, and a culturally significant one at that. Being one of the coolest characters and being voiced by a black man in those times was a rare sight. His voice brought a depth and richness to the character, which is rare to find. He set a standard for the character which gave him a naturally authoritative, yet a warm tone to him, which just enhanced the script more. So now we should talk about the different origins of Panthro across timelines and media.
But Panthro is most deadly when he uses his fighting stick.
ThunderCats 1985. The classic Panthro. It is in the 1985 original ThunderCats series produced by Rankin/Bass Productions, where Panthro is born. And it remains the primary canon story for his character throughout the franchise's history. In the originals, he appears in a total of 124 episodes out of 130. Being a non-central character and having a screen time of this many episodes just shows how vital his presence is for the group's survival and growth. Let's look at the facts. Without Panthro's engineering genius, the ThunderCats would have no place to stay, no weapons, and no tactical mobility on the new planet. So the premise of the series is that the ThunderCats have witnessed their home, planet Thundera, being blown to smithereens right in front of their eyes, and now have to flee to another planet to save themselves. This way, they land on their new home, planet Third Earth, where they now have to start a new life again. While doing so, they also have to fight off Mum-Ra, an ancient and evil mummified sorcerer, along with his other minions. Panthro's specific role here is that of the engineer, mechanic, and the muscles. He builds the ThunderTank here from scratch, and also the Cat's Lair alongside Tigra. Basically, every weapon or machinery used by the team is made or modified by Panthro. But apart from his usual character roles, the series has also done a good job portraying other aspects of Panthro's character. Two storylines in particular stand out. First, we have the Anointment Trials arc, specifically the Trial of Strength, episode 37, aired on 12th November 1985. Here, Lion-O comes of age and must undergo the Anointment Trials, a mandatory ritual every ThunderCat has to survive in order to continue leading the team. And the first trial was to engage in combat unarmed with Panthro. So after crossing many dangerous areas, Lion-O finally comes face to face with Panthro, whom he is hesitant to fight at first. Their friendship was clear to everyone, and having to fight a friend wasn't easy for Lion-O. But rituals are rituals, and he followed the instructions through. And there comes a point where Lion-O is in danger and Panthro gives out a helping hand, which, although Lion-O refuses due to the codes of the trials, just reflects the kindness and loyalty Panthro has for his friends and leader. He might be fighting against Lion-O, but that doesn't make him a villain. He is just performing a required task of an age-old tradition. Second to this is the famous clone storyline, where Mum-Ra is seen creating a duplicate of Panthro to use it to infiltrate the ThunderCats and wreak havoc. It surely is one heck of a plan for a villain, but this whole scenario just reveals the vulnerability of the team, without Panthro having their back. Mum-Ra knows that the way to weaken the forces of the ThunderCats isn't by cloning Tigra or Chitara, but it is by messing with their strongest pillar. So cloning Panthro really did work out for him, because the panic that ensued just makes everything transparent. So while these two storylines highlight his characteristics and importance beyond just being a mechanic, the 124 episodes involving his presence also keep his character traits consistent. For instance, his deep-rooted kindness towards the weaker populations of Third Earth, his impatience with Snarf, and the compassion and warmth he has for his team, despite his tough exterior. Let's not forget the Safari Joe episode, where Panthro's phobia of bats is used against him as a weapon, proving the point that even the strongest of ThunderCats may have some weaknesses. It was the show's way of acknowledging the human side of him, so his fear is looked at seriously and not as a punchline.
Who are you?
Name's Panthro.
ThunderCats 2011. Now let's discuss the 2011 reboot of ThunderCats by Warner Bros. Animation and Studio 4 Degrees Celsius. This version is the more dramatized version, where a lot of Panthro's backstory and past events are revealed. It is backed by an extensive backstory, a defining personal tragedy, and even a physical sacrifice that permanently changes his character. And one of the most centermost emotional part, his and Groon's friendship. Let us break it down piece by piece. Before the series even begins, we have Panthro as a decorated general of the Thunderian army, who is one of the most trusted soldiers of King Claudius. During his time as a general, he was friends with Groon, and the two were inseparable. They worked hard and struggled, fought side by side, and rose their way through the ranks together. Whether it was danger or glory, they shared everything. And with this, Claudius sends them on a big mission one day, the one that would soon go down in the history of Thundera. They were sent to fetch the Book of Omens, an immensely powerful ancient artifact. But apart from this one goal, Groon seemed to have other plans as well. Groon comes in contact with Mum-Ra and makes a deal with him, leaving everything and abandoning Panthro in the wilderness. He chose power over loyalty, something Panthro is very against. But Panthro did not give up. He built himself the ThunderTank with his skills, and he survived both the mission and the betrayal, although the latter gave him a lifelong scar. Now, the series doesn't bring in Panthro from the first episode itself. What happens instead is that Mum-Ra disguises himself as Panthro using his shape-shifting abilities, and infiltrates Thundera using his identity to get close to King Claudius, and then proceeds to murder him. Panthro's image gets tarnished even before his arrival. But then comes in the scene of the ThunderTank, along with our actual Panthro crusading through the battlefield and saving Lion-O and his team. So his entry already begins with saving his team. A protector, as always. Then we enter the Pit episode, the 19th one, which reveals what had happened to Panthro after he was left stranded by Groon. When the ThunderCats arrive at the City of Dogs and come across this arena called Pit, we see Panthro already being familiar with that place. Pit was a gladiatorial system for slaves and prisoners who would fight for freedom, something they would earn after 100 consecutive victories. Jeez. But of course, freedom was a myth, because Panthro escapes the place right before he is pitted against his fighting partner Dobo, who would have to fight till death. However, Panthro had to leave Dobo behind and escape without him. While Dobo still holds this action against him, Panthro choosing to escape a situation that called for killing a friend to survive is very in character of him. He chose to break his trust over having to kill him. Now, this is just some twisted sort of tragedy, but one of the most painful tragedies happens in the Between Brothers episode, which is the 13th one. This episode has to be one of the most defining Panthro episodes. The astral plane is collapsing. Lion-O and Tigra have managed to escape, but Panthro and Groon are still fighting, and mid-fight, Groon gets pulled into the portal. While getting pulled in, he grabs onto Panthro's wrists, but then tells him to set him free or the both of them would die. Panthro remembers something here, which makes him hold on to Groon even tighter. The whole situation reminded him of a story the two had encountered, and a personal code that Panthro had developed after that. The defeat of your enemy is worth any sacrifice. He keeps holding on to Groon while saying this to his face. And soon the portal closes, and in that process cuts off both of Panthro's arms from below the shoulder. But he makes sure that the man who hurt and betrayed him does not get another chance to do the same with someone else. And Panthro paid the price for this by losing his arm. The Burbles later build him even stronger robotic arms, but Panthro still misses the scars his original arms had. That is the kind of character Panthro is. While all of this was happening in the series, we see Panthro slowly warming up to Lion-O's leadership and getting past his skepticism. The initial doubt Panthro had toward Lion-O's leadership wasn't out of malice or spite. It was a veteran assessing the whole situation first, before indulging in any actions or making any decisions. Panthro had gone through real hardships and tough dilemmas, sacrificed a lot for his team, and developed skills after treading through difficult paths. So to see someone who was practically a kid in comparison to him or someone else be in the position of leadership was a hard thing to be okay with. But more than that, it was a situation that required proving of skills first. That is why it took Panthro time to believe in Lion-O's leadership. As the storyline progresses, he watches Lion-O make the tough calls, be responsible, and manage damages well, and keep getting back up no matter what happened. So the gradual respect he started having for Lion-O was not something that came easy. The other definitely had to earn it.
I'm Panthro. I'm a horrible inventor, and horrible inventors make horrific.
ThunderCats Roar 2020. Come 2020, we have ThunderCats Roar, produced by Cartoon Network, which exhibits a lighter, comedic version of the series. It entails bigger comedy beats, a dialed-down storytelling, and an overall opposite tone than was used previously. It can be said that it is a lighter reimagining of the franchise, made more appropriate for younger generations. Panthro is voiced by Chris J. Alex, and his character still has the muscles, the brain, is the mechanic and backbone of the team, but is no longer that dark and intense Panthro with a heavy and emotional backstory. There is no gladiator backstory, no past with Groon or his betrayal, no component of any physical sacrifice left. It's all washed away. What remains is just the skeleton, His engineering genius mind, his equally great physique, his dexterity, and even his paralyzing fear of bats. His fear of bats has been kept consistent across all character origins. Thundercat's roar is the perfect example to show what happens to characters when their backstory, all the drama and trauma, everything is stripped away from them. What remains is possibly what makes the characters truly them. Panthro in the comics. Now that we have covered the animated series section, we should look at the comics that adapted this series. And to avoid getting confused, let me take you through the 4 distinct comic book publishers ThunderCats had. Marvel Star Comics with 24 issues from December 1985 to June 1988. Marvel UK with 129 issues from 1987 to 1991 as well. Wildstorm DC Comics having multiple miniseries from 2002 to 2004, and finally the latest one, Dynamite Entertainment from 2024 to the present times. Marvel Star Comics ran side by side the original animated series and mirrored Panthro's characteristics largely. There weren't many changes at all. It was the same unapproachable looking warrior with the body and brains of a genius being the foundation of his team. The comic did not deviate much from his original character and did him justice. Then we come to Marvel UK's ThunderCats, which is an important mention. Because guess what? It completely had its own material and original stories, solely for the UK market, which did not go to America, which means that there are a lot of undiscovered Panthro stories waiting to be read from the 129 issues, which the animated series fans haven't even heard of yet. Possibly. Panthro's character base is the same, it just has different storylines, different character beats, and small developments like that. Talking about Wildstorm DC Comics, they had published several miniseries, one of which is worth mentioning, ThunderCats Enemy's Pride of 2004. This one is a very important one for Panthro, as here we see Lion-O acting strangely, being reckless, and basically being very unlike him and acting more like a dictator, which is where Panthro comes in. While he isn't the only one standing against this temporary tyranny of Lion-O, he was the first one to do so, and in the process he got framed as a traitor for going against the leader and was exiled. While in reality it wasn't actually Lion-O acting out, it was an impersonator called Ta-Shi. Then Panthro gathers his own force, including some of the modified Burbles, and returns to save his people and the actual leader. This proves his moral compass is always right. Finally, we have Dynamite Entertainment's comic releases. It is the most recent commercially successful run, which includes a lot of one-shots and limited series. In November 2025, the publishing company released ThunderCats Panthro No. 1, written by Ed Brisson and illustrated by Dave Acosta, which became the very first issue of Dynamite, which revolves solely around Panthro and his story. The 28 pages issue goes into Panthro's solo excursion outside of Cat Lair, where he is seen enjoying some solitude and alone time, but not before a pack of unhinged and hostile creatures attack him. While this is the kind of scuffle Panthro would have lighthearted fun with, like it's just regular practice for him or something, he soon realizes that it is much more than that, the consequences of which could even extend to all the Thunderians on Third Earth. It is the first time in the franchise's history that Panthro has headlined an issue. Isn't that amazing? He completely deserves it too, in my opinion. Well, Panthro sure was the cool one in 1985. With his strength and dexterity coupled with his intellect, he surely was a character hard to hate. It became harder to not like him when his backstory got revealed years later in the 2011 reboot version, leaving the audience devastated. A man of loyalty and honesty being broken by his friend's abandonment and treachery. A man having surfed through several hardships and sacrifices in life. A man still choosing to rebuild life based on the same principles and care for his people. So, how can a character this complex be disliked by anyone? Tell me, which version of Panthro do you all like the most? And why? Is it the 1985 original one or the 2020 lighthearted one? And what about the 2025 solo comic by Dynamite? Do let us know down in the comments below. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. We will be more than happy to make more such content. That's all for today. Have a good one, folks.